Hello, Threshold World fam, college edition. We're so excited today to be talking to Emory Pruitt. Emory is a student at my alma mater, CAU. So I'm like a fan right now. I got my CAU gear over here, like I'm at the game, so I'm like so excited. Yes, yes, yes. I started at CUNY, City University of New York, and then I transferred over to Historically Black College in HBCU, Clark Atlanta University, located in the ATL Shawty, as we used to say. And yes, I am telling my age. Oh, wow, I say that. So the most amazing thing happened. So we all know a month ago today was the March on Washington. And of course, it was epic. It was amazing to be able to be out there and be amongst everyone that is fighting for justice. And certainly, it's not something that we wished would still be the case today, but it's necessary. And generations have continued to fight for our rights, for so many things that we have gained, but there's still more that we're fighting for. Now, technically, I still had to work that day. So I actually was in Washington with my mom because she wanted to go. And she's like over 75 years old and she wanted to go to DC. And everybody knows that the elderly are supposed to be the ones staying home during Corona. But mom was like, she wanted to be counted amongst the numbers. So she went and my daughter went. So it was like 3 generations of us out there. But my daughter kept her, like, watched her and helped her while I was able to work virtually in DC. So I wasn't able to be down there with everybody initially, but I was there. I was working virtually from DC. And I know that historically, students, professors, schools, in general, those that are in education are always the one to help make a movement to be able to be pushed further. And so we put out the call for a student that was at the march, and lo and behold, of all students across the United States that actually got my attention and that I actually saw was Emory Pruitt, a student at my alma mater, CAU. Oh my God. But that's not even, it gets deeper. So Emory has an amazing story. And I feel like this is all on purpose. And I'm so psyched. And I'm going to try to calm down because your story is an amazing one. And I guess we'll just start from the very beginning. So when I put out the call for a student to share their experience in Washington, D.C., one of the things that I put out there was, if you wanted to write and we'll share your story. But after reading your story, Emory, I was like, okay, this has to be an interview. The world needs to see who this beautiful young lady is, that is like in school, like right now. So let me fix my light right quick. My light went out. And pardon, sorry about that. So let's just cut to the chase. Emory is 15 years old, people, okay? She's 15, okay? And let's just start from the fact that when I was reading your story, you told me, you wrote that you was an activist before you knew you were an activist. Can you talk about that? And just say hi.
So,
hey.
I was an activist before I knew that I was an activist, because I was like growing up, even starting at 5 years old, I wanted to, really be into Black Lives Matter, and actually started getting into programs like every time we kind of moved. So I didn't know I was an activist. So, as I grew up, I found out what an activist was, and then I started the Black Lives Matter page, and then it was taken down. So like, I didn't even know that, I was an activist And I was really proud of myself. I was like, wow, I didn't even know that I was doing all this and helping all these people. Like, I donated money, I volunteered to families that, you know, people in their family was shot by the police. You know, it was just really heartbreaking because, you know, so many people are dying. So I think it's good to be a young activist.
Yeah. So you said that you were putting up a post about Black Lives Matter. When
Mm-hmm.
was this?
I think this was last year. I had a Black Lives Matter page and
Mm-hmm.
Instagram had took it down.
What? Interesting. Interesting, IG. What's that about? And so now I'm thinking there's a whole lot more. I guess they got used to seeing Black Lives Matter pages, or like maybe you were one of the initial people that were actually maybe putting some, you know, one of the initial younger, parts of the younger audience that was putting information out about Black Lives Matter. I sure would like to have seen what that page looked like that Facebook thought they had to put it down. Excuse me, IG thought they had to put it down. And I think it's really amazing how certain folks interpret what they feel is appropriate or not. And the fact that some people feel that Black Lives Matter is some bad thing. My life matters, your life matters. And at this point, I would hope that most people understand why we are saying Black Lives Matter. You know, when we have a Breonna Taylor that, well, we all know. When we have a sister, our sister, she was our sister. You know, when she passes due to the situation that occurred, and the only people that get in trouble are those that are the officer that injured, the officer that had those shots that went to that young lady's, please forgive me, I got distracted with what's happening. But for there to only have been the neighbors, because the neighbors might have gotten hurt, but this young lady actually died. This is why we say Black Lives Matter, because there has to be accountability. And we're talking about some heavy stuff here today. Like, we went heavy, like, early in this conversation. And, I know that I started by talking about you being 15, and it's going to lead us into where we're going to go with this conversation. But activism does begin at some points at a young age, because I know that sometimes you will already experiencing it in your own community. So within your own story, I understand that even before posting these IG pages, you were in a middle school in which you were experiencing some prejudice.
Yeah,
Can you speak to that?
So in middle school, that's when I endured like the most racist things in my life. That was in middle school. So in middle school, I endured things with, the teacher calling me a monkey. I endured, I remember I had on, I think it was a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, or somebody had died and I had on their t-shirt. They had told me that I had to take it off or I'd be suspended. I remember asking, do they have like Black, I like African American history, that type of subject. And they said, we don't teach that here and we're not allowed to teach that here. I remember having a Black teacher told me, that how racist the school was and how hard it was for her to get that job. And it was just a lot of stuff that was going on. I remember saying, I want to be this when I grow up. And I remember the whole class laughing at me, including the teacher. You're not NASA material. I was told so many times that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't allowed to do this, that I'm too Black to do this, I'm not light enough to do this. And it was just like what is going on? And even then I went into homeschool because I was just tired of the racism and all the stuff that was going on. So I went to homeschool then, and then when I go to high school, it's like it continued, and it just made me so upset.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So you said it continued when you got to high school.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And how long were you like at that particular high school?
Um, I want to say probably, just off the top of my head, probably 5 months.
Wow.
That's how long I was. That's how long I was there. Probably
Wow.
5 months.
And so from there, mom steps in
Mm-hmm.
and mom is like, "Oh no, we're not going to continue to have this, happen to my child. We're going to look at some alternatives." So this is where the homeschooling part comes in, which I find is quite interesting. How was that transition from you going from being in a school to going into being a homeschool, to be in homeschool?
It wasn't hard because I already went to homeschool, but it was a little hard because you're still upset of thinking of, you kind of forced into going into homeschool because they didn't want you at the school anyway. So I feel like I was kind of
Mm,
forced to go to homeschool.
wow,
It was, it
wow.
was hard. I couldn't really see my friends. I had to wait till they got out of school, or if I had homework, I couldn't see them. So it was definitely hard. And then teachers, even after I went into homeschool, kept saying things about me, saying, "Oh, I know that she was gonna drop out." They thought I had dropped out of school, and that's what they started, like, literally telling their whole class and children that I had dropped out of school. It was just,
You really went through an ordeal.
yeah, I did. Like, it was just awful. Like, what teacher gets in front of the class and say, that she dropped out of school? Like, the kids are gonna ask, "Oh, where is she?" And they say, "Oh, she dropped out of school." And that was just really, like, it's just like the assumption that you assume that I dropped out of school. That was racist to me.
So wait, so it was just a day that you just happened to be absent for whatever reason, and she just said that?
So yeah, I mean, but I actually did go into homeschool. And before I went into homeschool, I did, let the principal know that I was going to be going to homeschool to get my grades transferred over.
Mm-hmm.
So, you had to get your grades transferred over. But they knew I was going into homeschool, but to make it a bad situation, they told kids or, friends that I had just dropped out of school.
Wow. That's crazy. So how did you find that out? Like somebody told you, like one of the
Mm-hmm.
neighbors or something like that?
Somebody told me, well, there was a lot of people that told me. And I think one
Mm,
student actually
wow.
recorded them going up to the teacher and what the teacher said. So that's how I knew
How about
it
it?
for
How about
sure.
it? You had your own allies that was still there a little bit. Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. So mom steps in and mom's like, okay, you're gonna go to homeschool. Do you know how she selected how you would be homeschooled, or what that process would look like for you, or a lot of
Mm,
learning during that time as far as how to do that, or
Well, at first, we were kind of freaked out about homeschool because she thought that she was going to have to, do it manually. Like, she was going to have to sit down with me and teach me. But it was hard for her because she already had a job. So we had to choose something that would kind of teach me, like, on the computer. And that's how we chose Penn Foster, because my friend, she recommended it to me. So that's how we chose Penn Foster.
so it's like they have like a program and you can just go on and they have like different modules and you just
Mm-hmm.
like do the work.
And every time you do something, it's like checked off, and it makes you have to provide proof that you did it and all that stuff.
Wow. So I guess it's like already like accredited and yeah, I mean I know Penn Forster. I guess we most people know Penn Forster. I've definitely heard of Penn Forster, so it's not like it's like foreign or anything like that. So that's great. Oh my goodness. So like did you connect with other homeschool uh um students virtually, or how did that work?
Well, I didn't connect with other homeschool students, but when I went homeschool, some of my friends, they started going homeschool. So
Oh,
that's
how about
how
that?
we were able to help each other with, homeschooling and our work, because it was kind of the same.
Wow. Okay. Now it's amazing you had that experience like not too long before COVID. hit and like students across the entire United States end up having to be remote and virtual. Isn't that interesting? Probably some of those same students that you was in that school with and those teachers that were acting a hot mess. You know, now they're all homeschooled, right? Or they didn't even give you the credit of that. They just said you dropped out.
Yeah.
But you did far from dropping out. If anything, my brother's a teacher. Sometimes he said, sometimes we're bent back like a bow so that we can be sprung forward. And I feel like certainly at such a young age, they were like bending you back. Like that's tragic. I mean, we talk about mental health so much and the importance of it. And certainly I advise, students watching to make sure you utilize like counseling virtually while you're in school this particular semester. I'm just putting that out there, for those, who need it. We can all use that. But I just think it's just really something that the things that are put into the minds and the ears of students and parents have no idea. I mean, I'm sure there's some students that may not even tell their parents what's going on, and they're holding that. Like, God forbid, like you didn't express what was going on in your classroom. Like you may not be as far as you are today. I'm like, I'm a parent, so I'm like upset too. So I'm just like, wow. So, all right, let me get myself my composure back. So far as your time in which you were being homeschooled, now I know that was like a short period of time. Tell us about that.
Well, when I was doing the homeschool, I thought they were going to transfer my credits over. They decided not to. So I had to go back and do all those, classes over again.
From middle school?
From high school.
Oh.
So I had to go back and do those things over again, which it bothered me, but I was like, it don't bother me. You'd rather be in this situation than the rest situation. So, I was doing my classes, but my mom said, you can really go at your own pace. And I was just like, well, why would I just graduate early? So, I was taking like 9, 8, or 7 exams a night, like every night. And every time you take an exam, that's like a class. That's like a class. You take exam in every single, class or every single like section or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of exams, lots and lots of exams, probably over 100 exams. Mm-hmm. But, every time I went and took an exam, you got closer to your goal. Like there's a goal, the 100% is when you graduate. So there was a goal every single day for me to get at least 7 exams in or 6 exams. When I started doing it every day, I noticed I was getting really close and I got even more motivated and humble. I was like, I'm going to graduate early at the age of 15. So I remember the day that I had finished all my exams, which means that I was completely done. I was just waiting for my diploma to come in the mail. And I was just like, oh my God. And I called my mom, we were screaming, we was happy. And I was just like, I'm done. So I was so happy. I couldn't believe it that I had did all of this after everything that I had went through.
So how long would you be sitting there at a computer like in a given day? Like how many hours?
I wake up at like 6. I'll set an alarm to get up way earlier. So I'll wake up at like 5 and I'll go to bed at like 12. So 12 a.m. And then it'll be the same routine. Because I really want to get these exams in, as many as I could. And I just became humbled and motivated. And that's just how I was able to do it.
5 a.m. you set your alarm and you would be on a computer like what, 5:30, 6?
Yeah. And you have to log in and stuff. And then I'll get off at 12 a.m. and then I go back to bed and then I get back up.
Wow, you was wait. Okay, let me make sure I got this right. So 5 a.m. till past 12 noon, you go into like midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear for the masses. You know, myself, you know, I mean, my gosh, like that was serious. You wasn't playing no games. And you
No,
did
man.
that straight. So I have to take this back a little bit because I know in your story that you were saying that there was a situation where you had handed some tests in. I think it was early on, back when you were in middle school, and they didn't believe that you had passed those tests, or was that high school?
Well, it was high school, but kind of the same thing also happened to me in middle school. But in high school, I had took, it was like a practice, ACT packet, that they give you before the big ACT test. So I was taking it, everybody was kind of taking it in the classroom. And I was the last to turn mine in. And then, the next day I came in, she had accused me of cheating on the test. So, and I got the highest in the class. So when she gave me another test, I had to redo the test all over again. And I made even better than the first time. And then I remember her like screaming and yelling and walked out the class. Like she was really upset.
Oh my gosh. Dang, they were really hating on you. Like, what is the deal? It's like, what's wrong with a beautiful Black woman excelling? I mean, if anything, what people don't fail to realize is that when we win, the community wins. But we have some people that don't want to share the community with us. But they like the clothes, they like the music, they like the food, they like the culture, but you don't, but there's a problem with us having an education. That's a problem. But it's not our problem, if we don't make it our problem. But at the end of the day, it's like MLK said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so collectively, we do want to help to renew the minds of the beloved community so that we can come together as a collective and get more things done in our country. And that can only happen as people continue to allow themselves to be educated and that they allow everyone to win. Me on my tangents, but I mean it. My goodness. I mean, I just think it's awful. You're under 18 and they treated you so terribly. But as the universe would have it, God, or to whom all, whatever people believe, I know we have different people with different beliefs. So, but, I certainly believe in a creator that is, higher, than ourselves. But even within ourselves, we have the capability to do the impossible. And you did what seemed to be impossible to some. Apparently, impossible that this Black girl could get this stuff done. Oh my God, how dare you get this grade on this exam? And she storms off. That is so extra, bless her heart, wherever she is. I hope that her mind is renewed. Now, so you've had these situations with these tests, you're homeschooling, you get through all of these tests that you're taking, excelling on each one. And then finally, at some point, you realize that you're going to finish within that same year of starting homeschool, which was 5 months after having left that high school. Amazing, amazing. Okay, so at what point did you start the college application process?
actually started after I finished, like after I completely finished high school, because not Penn Foster, but Clark, they said they want to make sure, after I finished, the whole homeschooling process, since it was homeschool. So I finished the whole homeschooling and thing like that. So I went on the Common App where it sends your application to like all HBCUs. And there were some schools that, some schools I didn't even, I don't even know or didn't heard of before. There were some schools that I have heard of before, but Clark was like my main focus, get in. So I emailed Clark personally, and then they had started looking at my application on the Common App, and then like one day I was like, I remember sleeping, and then my mom just was shaking me like this, and she was screaming, she was yelling. I was like, what happened? Like, I was like, did somebody pass away? And she was like, no. And then like, that's when I found out that I got into Clark, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm 15, I'm going to college. Wow.
I don't want to take away your wow. I'm giving you back your wow so you can keep going,
like,
keep going.
It was just like, wow. I was just like, did I really do this? Like, what?
Oh my God, that's so amazing. That's so amazing. I am excited for you and your journey, and I just think it's really something. Sometimes, we go through these situations and we have no clue. Like I always, when I've had situations in my life when things have happened and I really didn't understand why. Like when you have those situations that make no sense because they really just make absolutely no sense, there's something else afoot. You know what I mean? Like if you're like falsely accused for no reason at all, or somebody just says or does something out of the blue, like, what? Like we just had a guest, Dr. Sean Best, he talked about changing our perspective. He said somebody had spit on him when he was walking down the street, like straight spit like in his direction. And he was like, instead of like trying to fight or approach the person, he just started thinking of something else. And his mind was off of it. And he was just like, well, if I just change my perspective when I'm in these type of situations, then, because his whole life could have been changed. Like if he was fighting this person out in the street, this is the same person I was telling you that was like, that's in higher education for like 20 years. He was the last person we interviewed.
Oh, it paused. Oh.
And I just think it's just so amazing how, we have these situations and, it's all on purpose. I guess, because if you hadn't gone through that craziness, I guess you wouldn't be a college graduate today. And I hate to, I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, I mean, if it hadn't happened, that wouldn't be the case. I mean, we don't want nobody to have to go through what you went through, certainly. But, now you're in college. And how does it feel to be a college student? How has that process been?
Well, the attention is definitely there. Like I get a lot of DMs. I think I've gotten over 600 DMs since I've had my Instagram. And I try to look at everybody's, comments and stuff. It's kind of the same, congratulations, or I want to interview you. I had an interview just before this one where a girl at my school, at HHS, she went, I said school. But, she wanted to interview me for her blog. So I did that. And yeah, it's just the attention is definitely there. But, I want to answer everybody's questions. And like, they call me the CAU baby, the youngest baby on campus, the baby, just a lot of nicknames that everybody's getting me. So
do you have like people giving you like advice and stuff like that?
I've had people give me boy advice, girl advice, just a lot, homework advice. I had some teachers that, are really nice. Most of all my teachers are nice. The president of CAU, they're nice. The vice president, they're really nice. I've had alumni reach out to me saying, wow, we've never had a young person on campus that young. Some people gave me some tips saying, be careful and that this could happen, Yeah, but so far, you know, the homework it's a heavy kind of load, but I still, you know, I like doing homework, so it's not that big of a deal to me. But you know, it's hard because they want you to learn more. So I'm enjoying the CAU, you know, experience. I like the CAU love. I feel like everybody has each other's back and you can count on each other.
Please believe it. You can call on me on any time. You know how we DM all DMs for a minute. But I am so excited to have been able to connect with you. And so I actually reached out to my mentee, who's a junior at CAU, and I asked her if she had any advice for you. It was really on the spot when I asked her. So she said she would say not to force any friendships on campus and allow them to blossom genuinely. Don't try hard to fit in. There's always going to be people somewhere who have the same things in common as you. It sounds like you don't have any problem because people are, I mean,
my light turned off. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. We both having light issues. You know, I mean, people already hitting you up, but you have the lit, you have the lit IG anyway, letting everybody know, that you're at CAU and, you know, your age, that you're 15. But taking it back to Washington and how we actually met on IG, you know, when I was talking about the fact that, hey, you're 15 and you're at CAU, did you know that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. went to Morehouse, and, you know, our brothers would say house, you know, like he went at 15 years old. And I thought it was so amazing, the correlation between the fact that you're 15 and you're going to CAU and Martin Luther King attended Morehouse at 15. And the fact that you were just like, I am, you know, an activist, and I was an activist before I knew I was an activist. That in itself is huge because you certainly were. I mean, the things that you went through definitely embedded those things in you that you would never forget in your lifetime, that those before us went through, and some of those of us now never went through. So you're carrying something, and you're being thrust forward at the same time. So there's something within you that is so powerful and so great. And I certainly encourage you on this journey to just take one day at a time and just continue to be you. And I certainly wish you all the very best as you go forward and be the leader that you already are, just continuing to be that. Emory Pruitt. I did have, let me see, I did have an additional question I wanted to ask you. So let me just make sure. I think we've covered most of the questions that I had. Here we go. So what would you say to those that are being homeschooled today? Now I know there's a difference from when you were in homeschool, and now the fact that there's this COVID-19 that has students at home, but maybe you have some special piece to share with them, study tips, or I don't know, whatever comes to your mind that you would want to share with students that are, you know, maybe those original students that were being homeschooled, but just, I guess, every student now, because most everybody is. You know?
Well, the advice I have for kids that are in homeschool is don't rush through it, because if you rush through it, they're going to give it back to you over and over again. If you can go at your own pace and, you know, get done early, try to get done early, get into college, for you can have like more people like me, you know, if we can become the norm, you know, when people graduate early. And, you know, just try your best on all your work. And if you can't, you know, go ahead or stay ahead, just make sure when you're going by each subject, that you're actually learning it, that you're not skipping over it, because when you get into college, you're not going to know this stuff, and you're going to be like, wow, I'm stuck. I need help. So just take your time and actually know what you're doing. So that's my advice.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's see. I did ask you. Yeah, I did ask you a lot of these questions. Yeah. One of the things when I was, starting to prepare for our interview that I found was that the AJC, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, had actually did an interview with one of Martin Luther King's surviving classmates. He was like 90. Yes. I'm gonna go to the article right quick. I was like, wow, that is amazing.
Really
You gotta shout out to the AJC. There is an article, let me see when it was dated, back in 2018, actually. So not too long ago. They had actually interviewed a Mr. Moses. Let me see, his first name was, sorry about that. This is definitely impromptu, but his name was Mr. Willie, and he actually became the first African-American professor at Syracuse University. And then President Jimmy Carter appointed him to the President's Commission on Mental Health, where he's a professor, and he's a professor emeritus at Harvard. So it's just amazing to me how, it just continues, like the legacy continues. And that was a classmate of MLK. And he was just saying how he remembered MLK being on the student newspaper, and they reference MLK's talking about we must remember that intelligence is not enough. Intelligence plus character is the goal of true education. What would you say about that quote?
I feel like when you say when you say that quote to someone, it can mean a lot of things. A lot of people can take it, just do a lot of stuff with it. Like, it's like if you say a quote, people are going to take it different ways, but one quote, one word can really inspire somebody to do big things. And I feel like that quote can definitely inspire somebody to do amazing things, the impossible.
Excellent. I should end it right here, but for the record, I need to know, what are you studying at CAU?
Criminal justice, and I'm trying to be a criminal defense attorney.
Excellent. Oh my God, that was a perfect question and answer. I had no idea, but doesn't it make sense? Oh my God, I could really cry because this whole interview has been, it's been amazing for me. I'm totally psyched. And, again, blessings to you on your journey as you matriculate at CAU, Clark Atlanta University. I'm taking a deep breath. I'm so excited for you. I'm rooting for you. I'm like one of your fans. Emory, Pruitt in the house. Shout out to all the freshmen and students at CAU. I love my alma mater, a culture for service. Yes. Thank you so much for continuing our great legacy. And it means so much. It does. It means a lot. And we know that you will get yours.
Eventually get one of those.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Emory. And blessings on your journey.
Thank you.